2022. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our agenda this evening, as it was posted on the town website and the town board, is as follows. Number 1, Dish Wireless Site Plan. Applicant seeks to add 3 antennae, I guess, to the existing cell tower on property located at 809 Hoosick Road. Dish Wireless LLC is the applicant. Number 2, Welsh waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 3.39 acres to create a new building lot on property located at 1113 Spring Avenue. Edward Welsh is the applicant. Number 3, Changing Visions of Energy, otherwise known as CVE North America, special use permit and site plan. Applicant seeks approval for construction of a community solar energy farm consisting of solar panels, associated equipment, and grass surfaced access road on property located off Bel Air Avenue. CVE North American Incorporated is the applicant. We also have new business pertaining to the North Troy Solar Farm project. Our first item on our business agenda is to review the minutes and approve the minutes of our last meeting on February 3rd, 2022. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at those minutes? Is there any corrections, additions, or additional comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion that the minutes be approved as submitted. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, first on our agenda is the Dish Wireless Site Plan. I guess we pretty much said that they didn't have to officially attend. Is that correct, at the last meeting?
Left it up to them.
It was within the discretion of the applicant.
Okay, all right. The reason for that is that we were waiting for a response from Rensselaer County in regards to that. Because it's within 500 feet of a state road. We did receive a notification of zoning review action, and basically that the Bureau of Economic Development and Planning has determined that the proposed does not have a major impact on county plans and that local consideration shall prevail. Do you have a copy of this? So that was basically the only thing we were waiting for on that, I believe. There wasn't any engineering issues, was there?
I've recused myself from this application, but that's my recollection of LaBerge's response.
Thought I'd catch you, huh? Okay. Is there any other questions on this? This was a fairly normal routine application for additional antennae. So if there's no other further discussion, I will entertain a secret determination.
I'll make a negative declaration.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now on the approval of the site plan. Is there any conditions that we have to put into that, Andrew, that you recall?
I don't believe so.
We did determine that, and by a straw vote of the board, that there was not a public hearing required,
Correct.
and it was strictly an amendment to the existing site plan. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the site plan. Anybody want to,
I'll make a motion.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Next on our agenda is Welsh waiver of subdivision. Is there anybody here representing? How you doing tonight?
Good, yourself?
Good.
All right. My name is Jacob Keesby. I'm here to represent Brian Holbritter and our client Edward Welch for the subdivision of the property west of 113 Spring Avenue. The applicant seeks to subdivide a 3.3 acre lot for building purposes of a one-family residential home. Engineering has been completed, and we are awaiting a permit to construct from the county due to short staffing. But we did receive initial comments back on the original design done by Steve Dean, and those original comments from the county have been resolved and resubmitted.
I know we reviewed this under new business at our last meeting. As far as I can tell, there was no questions. You do have the site distance data on here. I would say that the only condition would be Messer County approval for, do you have a public, is it public water out there?
What's that?
Public water out there?
I do believe so. However, I think that they were considering drilling a well as well.
So it would be conditioned on Messer County approval of septic as well. Does anybody have any questions on this?
I do. I wasn't here in the last meeting when this was reviewed, but is Mr. Welch aware that if he has any plans to subdivide the rest of the property, I believe he has a waiting period of 7 years on it before he can do any more. And I didn't know if you might want to do everything at once.
Are you referring to Mr. Welch Senior? Because this is his son. Mr. Welch owns this large piece of property, but he's only subdividing a small portion for his son to build a house. He does not intend to do any further subdivision at this time.
Okay. Just didn't know if that had been.
And we had discussed that with him, that there would be the 7-year waiting period.
And there's an existing driveway there that's adequate to meet the driveway for residential use. And then there's no driveway into the remainder of the parcel, but that's accessible by some other means.
The remainder of the parcel is mostly overgrown farm field, and there is one farm entrance over here where they still mow part of the property. And there are 2 current culverts that go into the property right now that would be suitable for a residential purpose. I believe the site distance is from, there's an upper one here that's noted on our plan, that they would be using for their entrance to the property.
There's no wetlands, there's no wetlands.
No wetlands on the property that is intended to be subdivided. However, there are some that are located out here in this area, the farm area.
So is that a pond where that line forms that kind of oval?
Yeah, it's,
where the stream comes
there-
in and out?
There's a seasonal stream that comes through that farm field, and there's a small pond located down behind that. And our intent was to stay away from that.
Anyone have any other questions? You've already answered asked your questions, Wayne. Do you have any additional engineering questions? The site distance for that is, I would assume, is adequate for the speed on that road.
I believe the speed on Spring Ave Extension is 45. It changes somewhere up there as you get closer to Mountain View.
Okay.
And then there's a road that comes off on the other side, like,
Lansing Avenue.
is it Lansing or,
Yeah.
yeah. Site distance there is not great for Lansing, but I think on south side of Spring Ave, it's adequate.
No, I'm familiar, I'm familiar with that road, and you're right, coming out of Lansing, there's a house and a
There's a
big bank.
vertical, yeah, and there's a vertical curve.
Yeah, but on the other side, there's adequate.
Pulling out of Church Street seems to be fine.
Yeah. Okay, if there's no other further questions, I will entertain a seeker determination. Anyone wish to make a deck on this?
I'll make the neg deck.
Okay. Do I have a second? Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on the approval of the waiver with the conditions for Rensselaer County Health Department approval on a well or septic, and septic. I don't think there's any other conditions that have to be made.
Is there an existing driveway?
There's
For the
an
lot?
existing culvert, yes, with a, it has-
Will they need they won't need a driveway permit, Wayne? In the town to improve the driveway?
That large parcel is, right now is unimproved, right? It's all farm, so no, he wouldn't need a residential driveway for that.
And there's an existing driveway
And
on the
there's an
new
existing
proposed.
driveway on the parcel that's being
Okay.
subdivided.
I don't see any further conditions.
No, not for a waiver.
Well, I did want to go on the spring landing.
I'm not sure.
So there was a question about whether there was going to be a well or public water. I'm wondering if it's public water, how far out does that go? Does it include this parcel? I mean, there's a big development,
I think it goes out to Spring Landing.
spring landing. Did they have town water?
No, Spring Landing does not have town water. There, many years ago, there was a proposed water district extension for Spring Landing, but that was not pursued. So
I think there's public water on Spring Ave. Isn't there?
part of it, because that's where they're bringing the water in for Sharp Road.
Yeah.
I just don't know how, it comes in from the Post and Kill side. Doesn't it?
Comes down Grandview.
Well, that's where Post and Kill tapped into their water, was on Spring Ave.
And they ran
Right.
all the way out Spring Ave.
Yeah.
There was discussion about the development.
What number, what house number is Mr. Welch, you know?
It's, this parcel here is Mr. Welch Senior, and that's 113 Spring Avenue.
I'll tell you if he has water.
I believe he has a well as well. I'm not sure if the public water makes it all the way down to that intersection of Church.
I think there's a
Either-
water
either
line there,
way.
whether everybody's tapped into it.
There may be a water line. I'm not sure there's a water district.
Right.
There you go.
Either way, they do plan on drilling a well
For the new lot?
for the new lot.
So the condition would be Rensselaer County Health Department approval for well and septic.
On the back side of my sheet, I have a copy of Steve's plan for the septic, if you'd like to see that as well. Septic and well. It's not, as I said, it's not
Well,
a.
for a waiver, with a waiver, it just becomes a lot.
Correct.
And you go through the process of developing a single lot.
Correct.
Building permit, Health Department.
Okay, I kind of lost track. Was the proposal to approve, was it approval?
There is no motion currently pending, but a condition in the event a motion is made would be Rensselaer County Health Department approval for well and septic.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Do you need these copies of this?
I do not.
You don't want to stand?
You want them anyway?
I think you might want them. We have to stamp
We
these.
gotta stamp them, so. You want to stamp, I gotta have them.
One less thing I bring home.
Overnight, you won't need to start there.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Sounds like I'm an engineer. I don't know if I have to stamp copy.
Okay, third on our agenda is the CVE North American Special Use Permit and Site Plan. They've been placed on here because they were in front of a special town board, is that correct?
Right, I can report that at the special town board meeting tonight, the town board did adopt a seeker negative declaration for the action and did approve the zone change consistent with this board's recommendation, which was the parcel, the entirety of the parcel over which the access road is located was rezoned to AO, but only part of the parcel for the panel area itself, the panels, the associated equipment and fencing, was rezoned to AO. So part of that parcel and the frontage along North Lake continues to be residential, R25.
Okay, so I believe now that we have to do a site plan review, full engineering review on that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anybody here representing them? Okay. Obviously, you had Ron LaBerge was the engineer representing him for the zoning and
Right, there was someone from Ron's office.
right. So now we have to switch over to our engineer to review the actual site plan and any of the engineering drawings for that. I assume that they have all been submitted and everything like that.
Is the last revision the ones you submitted in December?
Yes.
And does that include the SWIP? That includes a SWIP, correct? There's been no changes to the SWIP?
No, we haven't, the only change to the plan, sorry if you can hear me, the only change to the plans were that, in December, were that we provided an updated EAF to reflect the additional area variance that we needed for the 6 overhead utility poles, but the plan itself hasn't changed since our original application. So the EAF did, again, just to add that additional variance, but overall, the project hasn't changed since the original submission.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, I did an initial review way back. Just got to reacquaint myself with what I've looked at and finish my site plan review.
All right. Does anybody on the board have any questions at this point on that? I know it was quite a while ago. Just a refresher, this was the one at the end of Bel Air where they needed an area or a zoning change for their access road in particular. And what would it be, the north end of the property to be rezoned to accommodate the panels in a road. So nobody has any other questions. There's not too much we can do right now. we'll wait on your review. Would that be reviewed by our next meeting?
Yes.
And would it be safe to assume we can put them officially on our, back on our agenda?
Yes.
Okay, for our March 3rd meeting. Do you have any questions for us at this point?
Just a question with the March 3rd. Do you, again, not trying to put pressure on your timing, do you anticipate that you'll have comments and then we'll be responding in time for March 3rd? Or do you,
I'll do my best to get you comments prior to the March 3rd meeting.
again, if there's comments to be made or potentially revisions to be made to the plan, to the response to your comments, then maybe we would go off the agenda, go to April if for some reason we need to come up and say we've got to respond to the comments doesn't make a lot of sense. If we can get them and get the responses back, then we'll come on March 3rd. If for some reason we need to make revisions or something, then we'll come up in April when we've got those revisions done and back to.
Just so you're aware, we do meet twice a month.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Or the
So I
17th of
mean, we
March.
could,
St. Patrick's Day would be fine by me. I hope it's good by you. But maybe let's try March 3rd.
Why don't we make that the plan? And then I can do a pretty thorough review, get you something prior to or prior to the next meeting, give you plenty of time to turn something around. I don't anticipate a lot of comments that would require any drastic plan changes, but
So let's play it by ear on the 3rd or the 17th, depending on what the comments are, and if we can get on with it. If not the 7th.
but we're gonna put you on for the 3rd,
Okay, thank you.
all right?
good with me.
If something happens a few days before, we can always postpone you and put you on. All right, is there anybody else have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I guess we're all set. We'll see you on the 3rd.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That completes our regular agenda. Under new business, I'd like a little clarification on this, Chuck. I received 2 emails. It seems to me like we were talking about 2 different solar projects. Is that true or not?
The new solar project that we have is, for tonight is just the, what's the name of it, Luis? North Troy, so.
No, that's the one on the old landfill, right?
No, that one, was that the name of the one on the landfill as well? I don't believe so. I don't think it was North Troy, was it? Wasn't that Oakwood Solar?
Please come up.
I get this little confusion.
In your email, you mentioned one to the east of the paintball.
Right, so that would be between Liberty Road and the paintball.
Okay,
Or was that more north?
that appears to be what that is. Okay,
Good evening. My name is Luis Torren, Director of Atlas Renewals. Thank you for your time. Let me summarize a little bit what is the situation of this project and why you remember something. Yes, by early 2021, we introduced North Troy Solar Farm in the formal municipality landfill. Yes. We appreciate very much the support of the town because it was a complicated project and it was some uncertainty how to proceed with the seeker review. The town fully supported the project, although that it was not clear. We made progress with the brownfield cleanup program with DEC. We submitted a remedial plan that DEC agreed with us to submit by May 2021. By July 2021, DEC came with a completely different proposal from the remedial plan. We make an assessment which will be the cost of that remedial works. That will be from $2 million to $5 million. That was literally killing the project. We have been reviewing with the landowner what is different possibilities to make a solar farm on the municipality landfill. So far, from an economic point of view, it doesn't make sense. We have not completely withdrawn from the idea to make something on the landfill, although that from a practical terms and considering the interconnection cost with National Grid, we need to do something, and we found a different solution that we will introduce today. The landowner of the former municipality landfill, Mr. Thomas Murley, which is tax ID 80-2-22, it's also the landowner of the adjacent parcels. So it's the landowner of this 80-2-3-11, 80-2-1, and also this one, 80-2-2-3. This parcel, which is almost the 80-2-3-11, it's almost 80 acres. It's a parcel which a portion of this parcel is a PDD, a portion of this parcel is industrial light, and a portion of this parcel is residential. After some review of what is our options, we entered into an agreement, option to lease agreement with Thomas Murley, Mr. Thomas Murley, to install on a portion of the industrial light this solar, Northroyd solar farm. So what you see here, this parcel, this is the PDD. This portion is classified as residential. All this portion is classified as industrial. What we are proposing is to install this 5 megawatt solar farm, initially planned on the municipality land, install it here, and to connect to the same interconnection point. I need to make two important clarifications. We consult with National Grid if changing from parcel to this parcel, that would represent a major change and we would lose our position on the queue. National Grid made some consultations and they confirmed it in writing that no, we can keep our position on the queue. Being that the case, we have been paying the 25% and the 75%, so the interconnection cost is fully paid and our position in the National Grid is secured. The second thing that we did is that we entered into contact with DEC and we asked what will be the best solution to cross the former landfill in order to connect to the original point. DEC reviewed this case and they suggested that most of the municipality landfill was on the center of the property, and if we cross it from the north, that will be a minor interaction. We submitted our application, change of use application to DEC. You will see that it's within the package. By Friday last week, it's not included because it was Friday last week and we already submitted the copies. By Friday last week, we received the approval of the DEC for this crossing. So at this moment, our plan is to install the solar farm in the portion of the industrial light. This portion of the connection will be underground, and because here it's the landfill and there is some wetlands, and here it is where we are connecting, and it's mandatory from National Grid. From here to here, it will be overhead portion and underground portion, and the rest to be connected here. We are not interfering with the PDD. Actually, we are keeping some additional space because the PDD has some expansion plans, or they want to install or to use this portion as a car park. We are keeping the 100 feet buffer with the adjacent parcel. We think it's a straightforward case. We are waiting for March or even early April to conduct the wetland delineation report. Initially, we have not identified by ourselves any wetland, although that we want to send, when the snows are melted, the corresponding environmentalists. Once we have this wetland delineation report, we will reconfirm or we will readjust the layout. We will conduct the stormwater pollution prevention plan, and hopefully with that, the package will be completed. We have included different appendixes. We know that probably it's critical for the board to understand if our connection with National Grid is secured. It is. You can see on attachment G, the National Grid standardized contract form K, which is when you pay the 25%. It's already executed. We have included on attachment F, the New York DEC change use application. This was submitted by December last year. Then it was resubmitted by January with some changes requested by Mr. Josh Hawk. And Friday last week, we received the email and the confirmation that DEC is accepting this change of use. We are submitting the initial site plans, and we are submitting as well the environmental assessment form for your review. The access to this site will be from Farrer Road, so the existing access road, which is connecting to the PDD, the big wall, paint wall, and we will extend the last portion to get access to the solar farm. So in this case, we assume that the driveway is already valid and it's from fire department point of view and from the different points of view, everything is in order.
I have a quick question on just orientation of the property. There is like a storage facility on Farrell Road. Could you point out where that is? It'd be at the top of the hill.
Farrer Road is this road here.
Yeah,
This is Oakwood Avenue.
yeah,
So this is the Farrer Road.
okay. I'm trying to figure out where the south end of your field is basically to the north end of that storage facility.
Can I give you the satellite picture with the Is this better? This will be the solar farm. This is Farrer Road.
Okay. I think what I'm asking is not particularly on, in the field that you have there as far as the image. I think it's further south. I'm just trying to figure out where that would line up with that.
I thought the storage facility was adjacent to the paintball property. Wasn't it? Right next door? And they share a common property line?
That red curved road is the access to the paintball,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
So right in front of that would be the storage.
I thought storage was right here.
Yeah, I believe it would be, yeah.
okay.
Which parcel is the PDD? You said part of that is the
It's a
PDD?
portion of the 80 minus 2 minus 3, 11. A portion of the 80.
On the
minus 2.
Liberty Road side?
Yes,
Okay. Over here.
Oh,
Oh, that's there.
That's it's here.
That's a paint.
Then it's not
That's
the
the
Liberty Road side.
No, that PDD for the paintball facility is directly off Farrell.
correct. Yes.
Well, the paintball's a PDD?
It is.
Okay.
2-3.11, that's the residential area, isn't it?
A portion. Let's say.
This here.
This is the storage,
Portion,
yep,
it's residential.
and then
This portion is
they're here.
industrial light,
If
and this
you
portion is
link
the
this
PDD.
point and that point, that's where the solar farm's going.
Okay.
Yeah, but it does butt the southern end.
Is this still Marley's residential area though
Yes,
that he plants?
that's our 40th area.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
these aren't the zoning lines, they're the property lines.
Property, okay. All right. Well, we just got this package tonight.
We know. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not expecting that you have had the time to review. I'm just here to introduce the project and hopefully to be in the next planning board.
The overhead connection, is that adjacent to the existing National Grid easement?
That's correct. The National Grid transmission line is here. It's a big transmission line, and therefore we cannot connect.
It's just
The transmission line, we need to connect to this distribution line, which is on Oakwood Avenue, but it will be parallel with the enough distance from the regulation.
good size road.
You can check part of the documentation in this, in part of the appendix attachment F, our documentation to DEC, the change of use application. City Mail, in this case, went to the site, produced some review where the location of the poles. Fortunately, we can install one pole on property 80 minus 2 minus 11, then only one pole within the landfill, and then the rest is already on the 80 minus 2 minus 2 1. You have some drawings. You have the site assessment and the photo log on the attachment F, and you can see on one of the pages of this documentation submitted to the DEC how we are planning to cross the landfill. Fortunately, it's only one pole, and this pole is only 6 feet underground, so it's very minor intrusion into the landfill. It was a recommendation from the DEC that they suggested that historically it was accumulated here, all the waste. So if we try to cross from the north, that would be the minimum interaction. And they were correct, yes.
Wayne, you have any immediate questions at this point?
No, I would just like some full-size drawings.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we submitted a digital copy, but if you prefer the paper version,
I
we can
would
provide you.
prefer a full-size paper version.
No problem.
We usually ask for 4 of those, Louis.
4 copies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the RMS4 coordinator is going to need one as well, and Uncle Russ and Laney and myself, and they'll grab the MS4.
Absolutely. 2436. The size of the drawings, 2436.
Size B would work, right?
What's that?
Size B would work, right?
Size B?
36, 24.
C.
Anyway, 4
Yeah,
copies.
no. C is in the letter C, not Spanish for yes.
I know it may be.
C or D size drawings I prefer. Yeah.
I know maybe it might be a little bit premature, but we've gone through a lot of these community solar farms, and one of the big issues that we try to address right up front is the visual impact. Initially, where this is, I'm not going to hold you to it. Do you have any immediate impact, or visual impact, on, say, from Oakwood Avenue?
Certainly, we'll take care of the existing trees and we'll preserve these existing trees to protect this portion. This portion will have to plant trees or to do something on the fence to prevent the visual. I mean, probably the person which may claim something is this gentleman, who, by the way, is the son of the Thomas Woody. So he already acknowledged that he will not make any claim. So, but in any case, yes, we will make sure that this portion is protected. On the other side, the trees will remain, and it's still the PDD and it's still the landfill. So from this side, from the west side, is, I would say, impossible to see this solar farm. From the north, also these trees will be here. This line will be on the ground, and only this portion will be, I think it's 7 poles, if I'm not wrong, only will be visible this portion. From the south, something similar. There will be here some trees, and it's also existing, so there will be here some trees. So we think that in any case, we'll produce a visual impact study for the board to consider, And we'll also meet in March or in April.
Okay. Now, with that in mind, on the east side of the property, which would be next to Mr. Murley's property also, where he plans possibly to do a residential development. I would assume since he's okay with that. As far
He
as-
has signed, yeah, he's okay. He has signed the applications. He's okay. Actually, while we are this portion is industrial light, and we would like to extend the solar, or it would be easy for us to install the solar farm here rather than here. But he's reserving this portion as a future residential in addition to this. So we are fully aligned with Thomas Murley. He was
Okay.
not able to come here to this meeting, but I will invite him to the next meeting if necessary.
You know, I was just kind of curious because it seems to me like that's more open on that side, isn't it? Isn't there more fields up that way? Or is it?
I cannot speak by Thomas Murley, but my impression is that it's a, let's say, long-term business, the relationship, the residential. It's not immediate. It's not immediate.
It's fine.
But I don't want to put in my mouth.
No, that's fine. I'm sure Mr. Murley will be here if he has to, and or if he feels he has to. So no, I was just kind of curious what the dialogue was. Does anybody have any other immediate questions here?
I do. From where you were originally gonna put this to where you're now gonna put this, there's an elevation change, correct? So does that elevation change make this solar field more visible to the people living on the west side of Oakwood Avenue in that development?
As far as we keep all these lines of trees, no. And this is our intention. So after the PDD, there is here a forest, and this is intended to be parking, except some line of trees. So as far as we keep these trees, no, there will be no visual impact on this.
Okay, and so I'll ask this, from the east side, as Mr. Oster was just talking about, will that generate a visual impact from the houses that are further up the hill towards, what is that? Liberty Road?
On the other side, as far as we keep our row of trees here, no,
Okay.
it will not be a visual impact. We are planning, initially we are planning fixed structure. Fixed structure means that it doesn't change with the day. Usually it's 12 feet tall. We are reconsidering, and you will see after the wetland management report, to make it one-axis tracker. One-axis tracker is usually lower, it's maximum 8-9 feet, so this may benefit from it, but visual impact point of view. It's not 100% sure, it depends on the wetland variation. We need to see the composition of the soil, we need to see something to change from fixed structure to one-axis tracker, but it's possible. We would reduce 3-4 feet the elevation, which is always welcome, in the sense that the visual impact of these solar farms is relatively easy to solve if you, around the fence, which usually is 7 feet or 8 feet, if you cover this fence with some plastic, with some material, green material, then if the PV modules are lower than the fence, there is no visual impact. If it's fixed structure and it's taller than the fence, then the visual impact exists. So we are evaluating from economic point of view, from technical point of view, what is the solution. In any case, it's relatively simple to, in only this portion, to plant trees and to prevent the views.
Okay, well, you've certainly given us enough material to look over. I would suggest that keeping this moving along, if you would like, we can put you on the agenda for our
Thank you.
March 3rd meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I think possibly Wayne might have some questions at that point and the rest of the board. Um, Does anyone have any other questions, or do you have any more questions of us? Okay, and we will put you on our agenda for March 3rd,
Thank you.
and we'll see you then.
Thank you. See you then.
Okay, that is all I have for new business, is that correct?
One other thing. It pertains to the cell tower that hasn't been fully installed yet on Creek Road. We've got an application from Verizon to increase the height by 20 feet and put another set of antennas on it.
Really?
Really? After we went through all that?
Really?
Really?
I know they want 22.
So are they gonna redo the tree? What are they gonna do?
That's all good questions. I've got to look back at my
I
pictures.
mean, instead of having, what, an
See-
85-foot tree, now we're gonna have a
Yeah, it was 80,
105?
no, 80 to 100.
How do we do that? We did all the visual assessments on the set height. That's
Yeah, so
complicated.
Chuck and I discussed this afternoon, and we took an initial look at both the zoning board approvals and this board's approvals. And I did look at it a little further, Chuck, after we talked, and each board made specific findings, which clearly identified that the height would be 80 feet plus 5 additional feet for the tree, if you will. And that based on that, there would not be any significant adverse visual impact, and that those findings were expressly incorporated into each board's determination. So now that there's a proposal, and look, the applicant, the property owner have every right to make the application and it'll get reviewed. But what we'll have to determine is how does that impact the prior approvals, and most particularly the prior seeker review on visual impact assessment. So recall, one of the things that, in addition to a use variance that the zoning board granted, was an area variance. And in part, the area variance was on setback from existing residential structures. And it required a certain distance, and that this location would be less than that distance. Again, that was specifically determined that based on an 80-foot tower, that it was appropriate to grant that area variance to allow it. It's only 400 some odd feet from a residence as opposed to 750. So we're going to have to take a look at how that impacts particularly the area variance issue, and certainly would impact this board's special use permit and site plan review. This was one that LaBerge had originally reviewed, that the zoning board had retained LaBerge to do that, and they continued and did the review here at this board. So there's a lot of questions. Impact on the prior seeker review, impact on the prior area variance granted by the zoning board, whether an additional area variance would be required, and certainly what impact on the existing special use permit and site plan from this board. It's interesting, the language of the resolution did indicate that it was designed for 2 solar panel arrays, and that any further proposed solar panel arrays would require further review by the town, certainly in front of the planning board and the special use permit and site plan.
Communication.
I'm sorry, you're correct. Got too many of these going on at once, right? But it's not clear yet. We're going to have to do further review of the record as to whether the additional antenna were to be installed on the 80-foot tower, or whether the additional antenna were anticipated to be installed on an increase in the height of the tower. So that also has to be reviewed. So there's still, I think, a lot of issues to review before there's a complete application because we're not sure yet what particular applications may be required.
At least we got something to look at.
A reference.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go out and look and, you know,
Actually, I've been up there. They have been installing parts of the tree. I haven't been up there in a while. And I can't say whether it's completed. You know, whether it's,
No, not even close. No, they're still working on all the ground wiring.
yeah, but the part that they had up seemed to work as
Oh,
far as the
pretty good.
visual.
Yeah, yeah, then that was what was going to be above the antennas.
Right.
So, you know, they got up that far, put those up in there, and they're working on wiring up to the antennas.
Right.
All that.
I would have to, you know, just
They do forget a decimal.
informally say that,
What they do, forget a decimal point?
we would have to, I wouldn't even proceed to go forward without a public hearing.
We've only received one application, so
Right.
they didn't, you know,
That isn't even gonna be an option.
It would not be an option on this because there is a special use permit component to this. And even if the project moves forward, there'd be an amendment to the special use permit, and that will require a mandatory public hearing. If an additional area variance is required, that is a mandatory public hearing.
So right now, that hasn't even formally been presented to anybody, so.
we received one application with only one copy of the information, so.
Okay, well, we'll keep us posted.
I will.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anything under old business?
we got all the walls up for Harbor Freight.
Oh, yeah, Harbor Freight's too.
Okay.
Not fully, they've got, they'll put the steel plates in and do another 6 courses on the north and south walls, just kind of a parapet thing.
Mhm.
So, but they are moving right along.
Well, they're moving on down by Planet Fitness.
Planet Fitness, the last of the blasting should have been today. It should
I'll
be
tell you
over.
something.
The ditch should be deep enough where that they should not require any more blasting. So it
You
should
know
be-
where I live, Brian.
Pardon me?
If they blast, my house rocks.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And I got a pond buffering.
I don't
Does the ice have a wave?
I can't imagine what it's like, you know, like 100 feet from it or 200 feet from a hill crest.
So we're actually in Planet
Planet
Fitness.
Fitness,
Yeah.
working out.
Anything else under old business that anybody wants to report? How's the Hannaford?
We're waiting to see how much water it can take. And we'll find out tonight.
I guess we will.
Boy, there's a lot of water down there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jeepers.
Okay, to review the agenda for our next meeting, we have the CVE North American Special Use Permit and Site Plan. We have, and we have the North Troy Solar Farm project, as far as I know. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
I still haven't heard anything from the solar at 308 Church, Brick Church Road. I'm not sure what the, you know, we asked for a visual assessment on that, and I haven't heard anything from them.
Okay,
So that's still out there pending.
all right. And what about Brunswick Acres?
Nothing new from them either.
Okay,
They did submit a slope stability study
right,
that I think LaBerge is still reviewing.
okay.
They're gonna drag all that fill up on the top of that hill and dump it.
See.
Something wrong with that?
Okay, so our agenda is set with 2 items. I'd like to just make an announcement. I'm not going to be at the meeting on the 3rd. And I've already contacted Linda, and she's going to chair that meeting for us. She'll be our guest celebrity. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go. Good.